One, two, one, two. I can't hear you. No. See your mouth moving, cannot hear you. It says connecting to audio. Paul is connecting to audio. So if you're in a computer or somewhere, you need to tell it that it's allowed to connect. Are you using it through the browser? No,
Oh, I have
no.
to say something with this. Okay, now
I
can you?
can hear you. Yes.
Yeah, there was like I had to click an accept button or something. Anyway, Victor, so sorry for being late. I
No,
I
no,
just
no.
moved
It's
a couple
perfect.
things around.
Sorry for moving it around.
Yeah,
Eh,
no worries. Um, so yeah, I just really wanted to learn, a little bit more about you. I was talking to Kate and she suggested I get in touch with you. Basically, for the past 8 years, I've run a media channel on retail at Rethink Retail, and I've decided personally that I want to explore some other areas that I'm passionate about. I'm probably going to turn that business over to some other folks, and I'm going to focus on a channel about sustainability and society, a new society. I have a fundamental belief that due to a variety of external pressures, some of them being political, some of them being environmental, and some of them being AI. I think that society is going to have to change over the next decade in new ways. And I think it's going to need to become more sustainable. It's going to need to have smaller communities and different ways of working. And so I'm in this exploratory phase before I, begin the channel and really dive into this area. Is I'm just trying to meet with people that are in various areas of this and to get an understanding of things that are happening out there and that I might want to consider as I, explore more deeply.
Oh, how do we do a Vulcan mind melt?
I know. Yes. Yes.
I'm like,
Absolutely.
I have about 10, 15 years of my research and ideas that I would love to in download to you in response to this. Uh, where do I even begin? I'll start with something practical. I would
Okay.
say start the channel right away and do it as you have these conversations with different people. I can, last year, I've organized this event called The Gathering, which you can think of, by the way, to begin with, the keyword around which my universe revolves around is regeneration rather than sustainability. There's different interpretation of sustainability, but in general, it's probably not fair, but sustainability is being co-opted to a large degree by the greenwashing industry. And also, even just at the linguistic level, this idea of sustaining when the world that we see around us is fucked is not one which is attractive to us. To
Right.
by us, I mean, like the ecosystem movements around, right? I'm motivated by leaving a better world and contributing to creating a better world. And of course, what does better mean? I think this is a big question as part of it. But just because we don't know or there is no single definition of what better is doesn't mean that we can't make progress and do stuff. And actually, I think doing things is a key part of figuring out of what better is. So regeneration is kind of more the movement idea space around which me and my friends and the people that I know gather. And within that context, I did this event called The Gathering. You can think of it as reinventing how we come together for the 21st century, a mashup of Burning Man and a regenerative trade show. So taking that transformative being together in nature power of festival with because I've been going for 30 years to festivals and I see the power there and it's something that I love to do, but just going out somewhere to get high and listen to music is Okay, I still do it once in a while, but it's not fulfilling, and it's not, it's not soul nourishing, and it's not
Right.
flowing like it was in the early 90s, right? So I was like, I want to get together in nature with amazing people, but have important conversations like this, build connections, right? Take that professional part and help build the ecosystem. So through creating this and now going global, taking the event and inviting people around the world to organize one where they are, would love to talk about collaborating or doing one in the US. Through that, last year I've been whoring it on LinkedIn. Like some weeks it's 200 people maximum you can click connect on a week, and many weeks I topped out. So I added like 3,000 people over the last 18 months. And a lot of the people I invited, let's have a conversation like this call we're having now, right? And I had 300 conversations last year, many of which left me shaking. It was mind blowing. I can't believe that these kinds of humans exist, that people doing projects with this level. And it was incredible, right? And I talked to young people in university who are just like figuring out what the hell do I do in this world here, to people full on elder, white hair, been doing this shit for 40 years, right? And what was amazing to me is that I felt a unity of feeling of this underlying, they were the same, right? Very different stages in life, completely.
Right.
The elder might be working on 10, 20 projects, part of this UN commission, this, that. The young person's like, what the hell do I do? But still, there was this underlying energy of like, I, the way I, the way it feels to me is the belief that we can do better and the desire to contribute to doing better. So yeah, I think it's a really interesting time. Everything that you said is completely true. I can connect you, I can help you build a learning journey or a connection journey. The universes which I'm really well connected, because I've been remote working for 20 years, so I'm well connected to the future of work ecosystem, but also that got me onto I left the city first time 15 years ago. I was living in Japan, in Tokyo, started working remotely. It was early days, so it took me 2 years to go, wait, holy shit, why am I living in a shoebox apartment in the middle of the city? If I have one meeting once a week for 1 hour, I could live somewhere much further. And I moved out of town, and I really saw the effect that had on my mental health and well-being. That got me started into Let's Build a Village, which brought me into the whole regenerative movement. So regenerative real estate, that kind of space I'm well connected to. Now building connection around collaboration technologies. I think the intersection of Web3, AI, and the regenerative mindset, so consciousness kind of next level. Because something that I have come to believe is that if you have technological progress by itself, you just get more of the same shit but faster,
Right.
or cheaper, but it's still the same old shit. And if you have just consciousness, philosophical advancement by itself, you either get new age or guru or some academic discipline, neither of which progresses the society. So I really believe we're at a stage where we need to have both of the things coming together, technological progress and consciousness, idea, mindset, spiritual, whichever way you want to describe that, right? There's many parts to it, all of which are part of the bigger thing. So I'm now starting a project to do a distributed conference around that. Yeah, interesting times.
Yeah, no, I think all that's interesting. I'd love to, continue to explore how we could potentially collaborate on, some of the events, other things that you're doing. I like that you are using a distributed model, because if you want to change the world, it's very hard to build that in an old school hierarchical model. You need to have this collaborative, collective approach to really do things at scale. So I think that's really smart. And what I'm trying to do is just, again, have a lot of conversations as I'm finding, the right people, the right way, the right connections. But yeah, I believe that time is a little bit of the essence. You know, again, all those things I said are just continuing to accelerate politically around the world. Wars being one aspect of it, but even inside the countries, you're seeing a lot of division and strife. You're seeing large amounts of debt that have built up in these established countries over time, but people are not aware that there might be hitting some limits of what's possible economically to do those things. And then, obviously, I think the environmental effects are obvious, and the fact that we're living in a non-regenerative, I mean, if you look at even programs like recycling is all just greenwashed for the most part, is mainly greenwash crap that the plastic companies have made us believe that there's no harm in making all this plastic waste because it all just get recycled, which is the farthest thing from the truth. So there is limits on how far the environment can go, and we're seeing devastating effects with storms and fires and so many other things. And then I think AI, if we're listening to the experts, are saying within the next 10 years, and some are saying within the next 2 years, AI will be as smart as any human. And when in my old days, I used to think that the AI was going to come for the like the flipping hamburger jobs, right? The little robot that just scoops up the patty and flips it over. But when, a few years ago, it never occurred to me. I thought the very last thing that human beings would be doing is like creating music and acting in movies and designing beautiful art. I said, that's what we'll do. All the hard work will be done by these machines, and we'll do the really creative work. But then when you see where this generative AI has gone, all of that, all of what mankind has done is potentially going to be done better by machines, from creative to the robots that are able to do the manual labor. And so we have to rethink what is humanity's place in the world, and what does that mean for supply chains? If I don't, I mean, the way the world works today is I have a job and I use that to make money, which I use to fund into the system to buy things. But when I don't have a job, when most people don't have jobs that make money, what do we do with all those people? They can't all live off of some sort of social security program, or even, as people will talk about, universal basic income. Those are really difficult concepts to get past and across. And there's a lot of changes that are going to be needed to accept them.
Yeah. I mean, the changes are fundamental. As a technologist, I mean, my original education is in computer science, as a software developer for 10 years. So I've observed the changes, well, at least since the 80s. And my father has been there for computers since the beginning, because he started in the 60s. I'm kind of a skeptic, because this, everybody's out of a job, leisure economy, we've been promised since the early industrial revolution, and yet the number of hours we work keeps on growing longer and longer. I think if you look at the last 150 years of technological progress, look at farming, for example, right? This is a interesting example. What percentage of the population in the US is working farming now? It's under 5, I think. It's like
Yeah.
3.
Oh, it's like 3%. It used to
Seven-
be,
70 years ago, it was still around 50 or something. Probably
right.
150 years ago, it was probably 70 or something. So there's this perfect example of a fundamental sphere of life where we have largely eliminated humans. does it mean that suddenly, and that was certainly crushing for many local communities, and but does it mean we eliminated work? No, I mean those people are doing something else. Is it better? Is it worse? I don't know. I mean, flipping burgers in McDonald's versus being uh, up to your knees in cow shit in, freezing weather, which is worse? I don't know. So I don't know about this. We're going to eliminate all human work suddenly in a short time span, but certainly massive changes are coming, and all of these things compound.
Right. Yeah. I was saying, I don't think it's any one thing that is going to be it, but it's a series of things. And, I look at it and I go, I don't know. Like I said, you've got like the Elon Musks of the world who are saying, in 2 or 3 years, we're all going to be in robo taxis and his
But
robots are going to be
Elon
doing all the
Musk,
work.
you can
But
you can look at Elon Musk's track record for
oh
progress.
yeah, yeah, no, he's quite liberal in his predictions, I'll say.
No wonder he's moving to being a politician. He operates on a truth basis like politicians do. Uh,
Yeah. The truth is
so
very, very fluid with him. But my point is, probably over the next 10 years, there will be some impacts, right? Whether it will
there will
be
be massive impacts, yet at the same time, and there will be massive impacts for climate and many other things, as well as rejigging of other things. Will any one single thing completely change everything? No. The systems are too big. I had a kind of a a moment of realization how much homeostasis there is in existing systems after the 2008 crash. Because at that point I had an MBA, and then I started like, well, what is money? How does this system work? I read a bunch of books on the money system. I looked at it, and you look at it, and through any kind of objective rational lens, the whole fucking thing doesn't make sense.
doesn't make sense. Yeah.
It should have all crashed in 2008, if not earlier. And here we are, 2025, and the thing keeps on ticking. And at that point, because I was like, it's gonna crash, it's gonna crash. I was trying to spend my money, just buy stuff. So, but then it didn't crash, much to my great disappointment. At that point, I realized that these systems are so big, they're really complex, that the crash maybe we're probably in the middle of the crash, but it'll take 50 years or not five, or
Yeah.
100. And if it does come, it's going to be unexpected, because in complex systems where you have volatility, uncertainty, complexity, ambiguity, it's impossible to make a prediction.
Yes. I just had someone define for me the difference between complex systems and complicated systems. He said complicated systems are like a watch, because
Yep.
it's complicated, but if you know what you're doing, you can know exactly why the watch stopped working. You can replace that one spring and everything works again. In complex systems, he says it's like traffic, right? Like one little thing causes this, but that causes something else. And it's very hard to predict
Complex is your
what things will
relationship with
happen.
your wife.
Yes. Which is
It's
I'm on wife number 2.
exactly. So yeah, I mean, I think, look, there is every we're at a turning point. It's really exciting. I remember what I was going to connect with. You said around time, and we don't have time. It's both true, and yet at the same time, what we need to learn is to connect with deep time. And to really, whether you call it seven generation thinking, looking forward 100 years, 1,000 years, because if you go down the rabbit hole of shorter and shorter time thinking, you get to I think, a reductio ad absurdum. Well, if it's all going to hell, break out the cocaine and right, just fuck this
Right.
shit. I'm just gonna party because the end is near,
Right.
right? And because it's complex, and the end could, whatever the end means, right? It could be tomorrow, or it could be 100 years from now. or never, we just kind of muddle through. It's impossible to tell. And this is where, for me, like for example, here I escaped the city. Now we're living in Portugal. Didn't manage to get funding for a village, so we ended up getting a farmhouse for now, and we have a bunch of land. And I planted a bunch of trees, right? And it'll take them 20, 50, 100 years until they're big and majestic. I will not live that long. And yet there is something with this connection, right? I did my part. I can't guarantee that the next person won't be a idiot and won't cut them all down, or
Right.
that the weather won't destroy them or whatever. But I did my part and I contributed, and looking at them and watching them grow and dreaming that some of them will survive and one day somebody will sit in the shadow and go like, wow, this is a cool tree. I wonder who and why and how planted it. There is a certain mental health benefit and a certain connection. You know what I like to say is that if the collapse comes, guns won't save you. I mean, unless you have one of those bunkers and stuff. But then even
Right.
I was watching one of the yeah, one of the big like futurists said, he said a bunch of super rich people. I got invited, 50,000 speakers fee, and I walk in and there's room and there's three guys in there. And I was like, where's the audience? They're like, this is the audience. They want to talk to you. And their biggest worry was after the collapse, how do I prevent my secret security guys that I hired, my private army, from shooting me, right? It's like,
Right.
how do I prevent? Because they're the
And you really can't. But
right. So what, and it's crazy, right? But what will be the most important thing to have if and when some sort of collapse comes? Family, community, friends, people who support you. And if the
yes,
collapse doesn't come, what's the best thing to have in life?
it's all
Family,
the same things.
community, friends, people
Yes.
that will support you. And when you start looking at it like this, I was like, I don't care if the collapse will come or not. What I need to do, what I want to build in my life is clear, right?
Right. That's true. When I get into some of these debates and we get into the darkest predictions, I say, well, I don't want to prepare for the darkest. Like if it's Walking Dead, like I'll just shoot myself in the head. I'm not going to go do that, right? If I have to live in a bunker, and have
But then
machine
even then,
guns,
right?
that's not.
If there is any survivability, family, community, friends, your network of support.
That's what you've got to go to that middle ground. I don't think you want to have, rose-colored glasses and just imagine everything is going to be just the way it is today. I think things are definitely going to start to change. But I also don't think you need to try to prepare for the absolute worst case scenario because who
Because
wants
how?
that?
Because how you end up in the reductio absurdum of how do I prevent my private army from taking over my bunker?
Yeah. 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 Well, Victor, I'm going to have to jump to another call in a minute. I'm sorry I was a couple minutes late for this, but I'd love to, continue the discussion. I took a bunch of notes while you were
Yeah,
you were talking about some of the things you're doing, and I'd love to learn more about the gathering and how we could maybe do additional events of that, in the U.S.
definitely.
or in, in,
Yeah,
in
yeah,
other
yeah.
locations. Where are you in Portugal? Are you in Lisbon? Where are you at, or
I'm just
outside Lisbon?
outside of Lisbon. So yeah, I will send you, I'll send you a link to my YouTube because I've been recording conversations. We can post this one as well if you're up for it.
Great. Yeah, no, that's super exciting. And yeah, I'd love to learn more about it. And then I have a place in Portugal in Lagos. And so I come to Portugal every year. I'll be back in the fall. And I more than likely will fly in. Sometimes I can get a flight all the way to Faro, but I more than likely will fly through Lisbon. So maybe I'll just book an extra day on it and come and have lunch with you or something.
Yeah, 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 definitely. I mean, we have a place here. You can stay a day or two. More than welcome. And but before then, we will talk. Let's continue the conversation. I just wanted to say that we need more storytellers and more people getting this message out into the world. So I'm super excited about what you're thinking about, and any way that I can support and contribute. Yeah, please count on me. I have a network of very interesting people. So everything that I have, I'm happy to share and support in whatever way makes sense.
Oh, I love that. And it's been, just a pleasure talking to you today. I can tell by, the choice of words you make and nuanced points you make about different things that you're obviously a very intelligent person who spent some real time thinking about these things. And together.
It's a pleasure. Thank you. Have a great
All
evening.
right. Take care.
Thanks.
Bye.